Yeah, I guess the only thing that I would add is that we don't have a choice. We've got to keep it moving. Our communities are still we're here to support, like those that are most impacted and those that stand with us and those that stand behind us and those that depend on us. So yeah, we just kind of have to keep pushing forward. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos.
Hello, welcome to this episode of Third Space Indy. My name is Michael Zarek, and in 1989, a man named Ray Oldenburg wrote a book called The Great Good Place. And in this book, he coined a term called the third place. This describes a place that is outside of your work and outside of your home, that you can go, be with others, build community, and just be yourself. So I've made it my goal here in Indianapolis to find people who are building community in their very own way, which brings me to this week's guests. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that there's no video. That is with the explicit purpose of protecting the identity of the people involved as much as they feel comfortable. And so today, I'm excited to share that I'm joined by Sayra and Wendy of the Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance. I reached out to them because I saw a lot of local businesses and individuals thinking about donating, and I had never heard of them. So I was interested in their work, what they're doing here locally, and what's going on. So first of all, hi, Wendy, and hi, Sayra.
Hi, my name is Wendy. I am a volunteer with IUYA, also known as Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance, and I've been around for some time now here in Indianapolis and supporting our community in any way I can.
And my name is Sayra, and I am a founding member of the Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance, and I've been around Indianapolis for over 30 years now.
That's super long. I told you that I only moved to Indianapolis back in October of 2024. 25? Wait, what was last year? 25. October of 24 is when I moved here. So like I said, I reached out because I saw a large amount of people donating to you, and obviously you caught my eye as well. So I really reached out to get a greater understanding of your organization and like your work. So why don't we start, Sayra, because you're one of the founding members, talk about the origins of what you guys call IUYA.
So IUYA, the Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance, started and began its formations back in 2012 after some anti-immigrant legislation had passed the summer before in 2011. So more specifically, it was founders were made up of, at the time, youth, myself, and other youth that were trying to figure out ways and alternatives to continue to go to higher education or stay in higher education, whether that was at a university, local college, or like different training programs. And what HB 1402 did was that it took away in-state tuition to undocumented students. And so that is kind of where IUYA started, us trying to figure out and navigate these higher ed spaces. And we started by mainly trying to fundraise to be able to provide scholarships to other undocumented students across the state. And our very first round of scholarships, we gave out two $500 scholarships to some students at Ivy Tech, and those funds were fundraised through yard sales from that summer. And slowly, IUYA has began to develop into reaching different areas. Following that, it was shortly after was President Trump's first round in presidency, and we did a lot of Know Your Rights workshops around the states where we traveled with attorneys to different cities to provide a lot of resources and emergency kits to different communities across the state. We've also had a social justice mentorship program for undocumented youth to connect with mentors that can help them navigate spaces. We've currently also help families with financial assistance when they need support. And lately, we've been helping a lot as well with connecting families to different resources or their organizations, making referrals, kind of meeting people where they are and seeing what their needs are. And we still do provide scholarships and connect with other organizations to help our community have access to community safety trainings and different things that may be useful during this time. Yeah. Do you want to add, Wendy?
Well, I'm not a founding member, but during this time when IUYA was forming, I was also just as impacted, except I was not at the college level. I was actually in high school, but I really do reflect a lot on just how brave the youth were at that time and putting their bodies physically on the line to demand something that we all recognize is very, very needed, right? Like the right to education, the right to have higher education at that time. And so I really can't be more grateful for the founding leaders and people that had to do and had to organize in a creative way to raise these funds, to think about just how much college was at that time. And so although this is still something that affects our students and affects undocumented students in the state of Indiana, IUYA has really built and created a space of safety, a space of like identity and recognizing that we're not alone. And so I'm just grateful that IUYA has been able to provide scholarships and look at it in a way that's not institutionalized, right? We really care for the people that receive these scholarships and try and support them beyond just their academic success.
Definitely. One question that has really stuck with me. So when I was first walking to go meet you guys last week, I called my mom and told her that I was meeting with you. And the question she asked was, how does IUYA function knowing that there's a consistent target on your back at this time? I mean, obviously there has been since your foundation. So maybe it's reductive to say that. But now it's sort of ramped up in a way that is reaching the mainstream. So can you guys speak to like how you are managing?
Well, one really important thing that Sayra mentioned was that our families have been here for a very long time, right? 20, 30 plus years. And not just being here, right? But living here, going to school here, working here, having what we call roots here. And so back in those days when IUYA was forming, we really looked up to our parents and their strength and all that they had to live through and struggle with to, for us to be able to go to school. And so I'd really say that, yes, in the eyes of like social media and everything going on, we do have we're watching everything with our own eyes, everything that's happening and how these constant attacks are like a daily thing. But I think we are very unafraid, unapologetic about our existence and the fact that we are in spaces and we are in circles where we can empower our families and empower their experience. And so what not better way to do it than by just simply existing and resisting and being ourselves and always thinking of like creative solutions to help our families.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I would add is that we don't have a choice. We've got to keep it moving. Our communities are still have to have, we're here to support, like those that are most impacted and those that stand with us and those that stand behind us and those that depend on us. So yeah, we just kind of have to keep pushing forward. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos.
So can you speak to what, I think that's a really inspiring message of just like, you have to do it. So in a lot of ways, like I don't know, there is no other answer than that. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to like what it means to be able to be in the position of empowerment that you've put yourself in to be able to provide for people in the community that you know or even don't know, strangers, and like what impact that's had on you as well?
Yeah, so I remember going with my older sister when I was in elementary school and going into middle school. When she was getting, ready to graduate high school, she was going through the first round of the Dream Act. And I remember going to demonstrations, and I remember going to that really big march that we had here in Indianapolis in the early 2000s. And then nothing happened. And then I went on to middle school and to high school and graduated high school and then started college. And then the second round of the Dream Act was coming around, and my sister again was involved with that. And I was like, dang, she graduated, nothing happened. I'm graduating, nothing happened. And she had talked to me about it. She's like, you should come. At the time, there was the organization that was like, supporting youth through like this type of empowerment and helping them show up, was the Latino Youth Collective. And she's like, you should come, to the protests, and we're doing hunger strikes and we're doing all these things. And I was like, I don't want to do all that. I was like, hey, you bad kids are out there in the streets, And so, but finally one day I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to go. And it came from, what if it happens? What if all of these people are collectively out here in the street pushing for change, doing all of this, and I'm just sitting in the sidelines, and it comes through and I'm going to benefit from it. And I didn't fight for this. I didn't earn it. And so then I went, and lucky for me, that was the weekend that they were preparing for the civil disobedience at the State House, where myself included and a few other folks did a sit-in at the governor's office to protest the enactment of 1402. And that's kind of where this all really came together for me. There's a responsibility for not just in me, but in all of us to really come together and show the power that we collectively have. From that sit-in, from many other sit-ins that were happening across the country, from a lot of other youth that were doing the same civil disobediences, demonstrations, education, not deportation. That is where DACA was really born from. That is what really pressured President Obama at the time to push forward with deferred action for childhood arrivals. It wasn't born out of the kindness of his heart. It didn't just happen at a snap of fingers. It was all of these youth across the nation coming together. And so to me, being in this type of space is, I feel the responsibility to help others see that through, like to bring other youth together, to bring families together, to showcase our collective power that we have together, not just in resiliency, but to be able to take care of each other, that within us we have what we need to continue to survive and support each other.
Wendy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was definitely very, very young, like still in high school when DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, had passed. And it wasn't until later in my life that I realized how it was advocated for. There was a lot of news around President Obama giving us legislation that worked for us. But it honestly wasn't until I began organizing that I learned just how disconnected I was, and how I was also, I guess, ignorant at one point and not recognizing all the work that it took. And it didn't hit me until I went to college myself, and I experienced all the barriers and challenges of getting financial support to go to school. But I was very, very privileged to have an athletic scholarship to pay for school. But again, it didn't change that, the scholarship didn't change the laws. It didn't change how we were treated. And so once I moved back here after my first time in college is when I learned, like, wow, there were individuals that have been organizing since they were kids, and really like demanding what we now have. And so, like Sayra says, we are firm believers in everything that we need, we already have in our community. And I think that is what centers us, especially during these times.
Those are both great answers. Thank you for sharing, as always. I think that sort of leads naturally into this question of like the now time. We talked a little bit about this the other day with SB 76, which is an immigration focused bill, which is, you guys will know more about it than I do, but effectively it's there to mean that like government institutions like schools will have to work directly with law enforcement to like effectively carry out these enforcement tactics. I didn't know what the proper way of describing it.
Yeah.
What does it look like for you guys? You guys are not an advocacy group necessarily, at least on the legislation side. That's what you made very clear to me. And on your topic of like, we will do this work no matter what. Does anything change about your work with the potential passing of this bill?
Well, in the last weeks, I think we've recognized as IUYA that we are a space, we are a movement that people look up to, right? Like people will reach out and say, where is IUYA with everything going on? And for us, despite like the advocacy efforts that are happening at the State House, we have always centered like the community, not the message behind the politicians and all these bills and laws that are being passed. So for us, we look for ways to respond to legislative changes and how they're going to impact our families. So for us, it's really important to, have community spaces at the schools, have relationship with the schools, with the families, them actually being able to access our information or access our leadership. And so we clearly have seen what policy can do to our community, and we don't want to let that define us and how we work.
I think I would just add that something that makes me feel hopeful is seeing non-impacted people be activated. I think for a long time, we felt or bared the responsibility of like pushing legislation that impacts our communities forward, that we had to do that work ourselves. But, coming to the realization that asking folks that need a driver's license to drive without a license to the State House to ask for a license was not the best use of, like where our community needed to be and what our community needed from us. And so I hope that all of you guys listening out there that are becoming activated by everything that's going on are able to find those that are advocating against these policies and that are at times also advocating for policies that would support our communities, like driver's cards and reinstating in-state tuition, can get behind some of those policies and support or go against depending on what's happening at the time. But that gives me hope, is other people that are not directly impacted being activated and hoping that they'll also show up for those things.
Yeah. Can you actually, we have that written down, and for someone like myself who I would consider an unimpacted individual, like what is a good way to get involved more directly, feel, or not, maybe not even feel, have a real impact that is helpful and that is not a hindrance to like real progress?
There is a saying in Spanish que, what is it? We need all of our bees, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? No?
Maybe not in English. What is it in Spanish?
Este movimiento ocupa de todas sus... yeah, so if you are someone that's listening, we all have something to contribute. We all have something, whether that's time, whether that's funds, whether that's, information and knowledge. For one, I would encourage folks to message our Instagram. I think that's where there's more visibility to like what we do and what we have done in the past. messaging, or also visiting our website, IUYA.org, and looking at the volunteer section. But also sharing, right? Like, what sort of background do you have, or what are you willing to support us with? And that could be anything, giving someone a ride, accompanying them to an appointment at the doctor's office, or if you're really good with technology, I think that's also something that's helped us a lot. But we've really relied on people just caring about the situation and caring about what they can do, and most importantly, always prioritizing and putting immigrants first, right? We never want to have to talk about accountability in a way that's harmful to our community, but also folks that respect just the things that we deal with every day, and making sure that we're walking alongside each other and not ahead of one another.
I like that phrasing.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that we currently doing is providing financial support for families that are being impacted by ICE. So if you've got an extra dollar or two, you can find that fund available on our website and Instagram page as well. Share it with your friends and family. The funds that are collected there go directly to families that are being impacted by the current immigration situation, or having families detained by ICE. They receive support by, we can pay their utilities, we can pay their rent, and we've also helped pay attorney fees so that people can have their loved ones located or provided services for that otherwise may be stuck. So that's also an easier way to also, when you don't know how to act with your wallet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Someone used the term time, talent, or treasure for me recently, and it sounds like treasure is something that is needed greatly at this time.
For sure.
So you've been, what was the founding year, date?
2012.
2012. So it's been, oh my God. 2012 feels like 5 years ago.
I know.
We incorporated officially on paper in 2015, but our little group started,
And also, just to mention your naming origin, you said it was the Youth Alliance because you were young when you were founded.
Yes, we were all youth. I don't know that we all thought we would not be youth one day. I think it was the bigger hopes that this is all going to be done and over with, over the time.
If only it were done and over with. But over that time, oh no, I have to do math now.
14.
It's 14 years. Thank you.
Who's dressing up?
Has the city, and I don't mean the city government, I mean the city and its people, has it been a good support? Has there been a good support system, or people here who are obviously been helpful?
Yes. So nothing happens fast. Like I mentioned, we started fundraising for our first few scholarships, selling things from our closets at yard sales and getting donations. And that's where it started. But, once we became a 501c3 in 2015, we were able to have access to help, our community more with bigger scholarships and have events for additional fundraising. And yes, we've been very fortunate that people see the work that we do. The impact of the work that we do is really evident with the people, that surround us and support us. We've been very fortunate that, a lot of the businesses, you said that you had seen that, a lot of businesses were supporting us. Those are all small local folks as well, they see the impact of the work that we're doing. And, for people to reach out on their own and be like, I'm going to do this for you guys, it's such a great help. We cannot thank them enough. We've been very fortunate to be, received with a lot of support that, yes, we have had to seek out a lot of support, but we've had that, come back tenfold, not just with individuals, but, institutions as well that have seen our work and are willing, to give us, grant money as well to also help push out programs and other things that need to get done.
I'll just say that IUYA does what it says it does. Like, we are, in contact with families every single day and providing the support that we can, if not being creative with a solution as to, what their needs are. And so that is the fruitful part of volunteering and organizing with IUYA.
Yeah, thanks for sharing a little bit about that. Can you... I have heard of like some other ways people can get involved and help undocumented folks. There's also a phrase I really like, which is that the only difference between an undocumented person and a documented person is the documentation, the paperwork. And I really want to make sure that people are like, they don't think of these people as different. It's just like, they are just people. So what are some other ways that people can get involved and maybe sort of pay attention to what's going on around them here in Indianapolis?
There is a Space Indy Rapid Response that works to be humanitarian support to individuals that are either in crisis, detained, being apprehended by ICE agents or ICE enforcement. And so there is work there to be done. There is training as well that can really help someone that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of awareness or understanding of how these things work. But of course, this is an issue that is very local, not just happening in the larger cities or at the border. Families are impacted here locally in Indiana. And so this group really seeks to be a network of support, be a network of response to what's going on. There are trainings that break down what these federal agencies do, such as DHS, ICE, CBP, ERO, right? And these are important things to know when you're out in the community and you need to know who the enemy is. So there is definitely opportunity to get trained and to be informed and to be connected to a local group that you can participate in and be on the lookout for.
Yes, definitely. See something, say something. You can follow Indy Rapid Response on Instagram and Facebook as Indy Rapid Response. And they're for people that, do have the urgency, that feel like they really need to do something. They are having a community safety training on Monday, February 23rd. So you can catch them over there on their socials.
Is that next Monday?
Yes.
Okay, it's going to come out that day.
I lied.
But if someone listens to it that morning, they can go. If you're listening to this episode, the day it comes out, you can go.
Yes, it's Monday night. It's going to be Monday night at 7:30 p.m., I believe. So, yes, if you haven't already registered and you're listening to this episode in the morning, yes, go catch them on their socials. They should have a registration link. And if you don't have the phone number in your contacts yet, it's 855-589-4639. And that is the number to Indy Rapid Response where you can call and report ICE sightings.
Dope. Thank you. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about, or we can move on to what I call the canned questions? I say this. It's more like fun question, or like fun or reflective.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Third Space Indy is sponsored by cityrising.org. Mark Lotta, local community man, has decided to sponsor the podcast. City Rising is a social impact studio that leads and supports innovative projects that strengthen, celebrate, and repair people and places. So if you're a people or you're the leader of a place and you're interested in improving your built or lived environment, reach out to me or go to cityrising.org and I'll get you hooked up. Anyways, Sayra, Wendy, I ask the same question every episode. The question is, what is, if you heard at the beginning what a third space is, what is a third space to you? Have you heard that term before today?
Not explained like the way you explained it. That's very interesting because the very first thing when I think about a third space is chosen family. You know, like spaces in whether it's people or physical spaces that that you've chosen, that have called you for some reason that it may not be typical, that your sibling that was born of the same parents of the same household would not relate. Like that's kind of like what I think about.
When I think about this term, I think about it's funny. You know, when you vote and you have two choices, you're kind of like, I wish there was a third option that I could choose.
Yeah.
So I do like this. I like Sayra's idea of it being around what you get to choose and what you want to partake in.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to phrase it, because I think a lot of people like, I don't know. I get caught up in definitions a lot in third space. Like I've thought about that definition of third space regularly, and it just like in a lot of ways it's sort of either it's choosing you or you're choosing it. I think that's a place or a space that you are taking active participation in the decision to go there. I think is an interesting way of phrasing it. A very related question, which I also ask, is what is a third space that has existed for you previously that does not any longer? Whether that means literally or just like you don't go there, and it's like something you think about.
I can answer first. I have the privilege to work in a field that I really love, which is being with community. But I often reflect on where it all started, which was like, you know, working in restaurants and being in the back of the kitchen and just having a good old time with my coworkers. And so I think about that space often and how I somehow have a hard time detaching from like this customer service place and space. But at the same time, it's also helped me grow a lot as a person and like seeing the world from a different perspective and just having a lot of grace with myself and how it takes a while to become who you want to be. So I'd say really like, my past employment, I guess.
Any specific, like, was it like a chain restaurant? Or like
No, it wasn't. It was, I first started at a family-owned restaurant in Vincennes, Indiana.
Cool.
Yeah.
Would school count?
I have not broached the subject of school as a third space on this podcast yet, but to me, even though you, as a child, you are working, quote unquote, at school, I think it's so fundamentally about the social aspect that I do personally believe that school is a third space. Not for teachers, though. Those people are working.
Yes. I leaning towards school because I feel like I was very fortunate to feel like I had teachers that made me feel seen, that I felt cared about me, you know, that were involved in my life outside of school, that I really would not be the human that I am if it wasn't because of the support that they provided to me. So I think about that, I'm like, dang, school was fun, school was great, it's gone. And as someone that recently finished college, you know, third tries the charm. Shout out the Sam Maserati Scholarship for footing the bill. Yeah. I also would say I'm probably just because I am the student in every space that I am, that school's not for everyone, but it's definitely
Sayra's always willing to learn.
Provides a space, yes, but I definitely miss.
Any specific teacher shout outs?
Oh yes, someone that I don't have Facebook, so you're not gonna catch me over there. But when I do get a hold of someone's phone that I'm snooping around in, I do look
Hide
for
your Facebook.
If anyone knows, please reach out. Miss Alfreda Parrish. She was my middle school math teacher, and she had an after-school club that was just girls. and it was the best thing ever. And she took us around to different things to volunteer, like at the Riley house, and she would bring in people to help to like teach us about like nail care and manicures, things like that I wouldn't have done like in any other space outside of
what was her name
school. Miss Parrish. So her name was Alfreda Parrish.
That's a great name. I like that. I back of house.
Finds her.
Well, maybe I'll hunt her down.
She'll find you.
There's a lot of random people listen to this podcast, so you never know. Back of house, like restaurant work, has some of the highest highs and the lowest lows I've ever felt in my life.
Yes.
I used to work at Texas Roadhouse in Bloomington.
Oh.
And then I used to work in West Lafayette. I worked at a restaurant called The Bryant. Both of those places had great coworkers, but also like some of the worst days of my life. So
some humbling experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody should work in the service industry at one point in your life.
Yep.
And on the topic of school, like I love that. I think I hope this for everyone, but I think it's true that everybody has at least one teacher that has had an impact on them heavily. Shout out to Tina Algren. Anderson York mentioned Tina Algren, like taught him in school, and that it was an impactful person. So I think that's right. I don't know.
We need your shout out, Wendy.
Do you have a specific coworker that's like?
Yeah, the owner of the restaurant, he became like a father figure to me. Like, when was this? 2016-ish. So 10 years ago. And he became like a father to me because he owned the restaurant. His whole family ran the restaurant. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple years ago, but he made work so fun for me because it was like work, and then on top of that, he really cared about checking in about school and making sure that I was doing what I loved. And he would always joke around that every chance I got to leave the state and go travel, he's like, all you want to do is travel. Like, that's all you want to do. And he's like, one day I'm going to be rich like you and I'm going to go travel too. But, restaurant owners, they don't ever leave. They have to watch their business. And so I'm just like, dang, he always wanted me to travel. Although he didn't put it that way. Yeah, so he was awesome.
Thanks for sharing.
His name was Daniel Ramirez.
Danielle Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
I can't throw the rolled R in there. I can roll my R's, but not that well. Thank you so much. This is my favorite question because it's like, and I don't use favorite lightly for those who are knowing. It's very reflective and like you get a little insight. So every episode, I also ask a question from the previous guest. And this week's guest, her name was Alexa Hill. She's the owner of the Common Room Indy. It's a salon up in Castleton. And her question was, what are some ways, actually this is very topical for you guys, but what are some ways that you see businesses act that make you want to like go support them more, basically? Maybe for you it's that they donated to IUYA, but are there things that businesses are doing right now that you're like, oh, I feel either safe or willing to go there?
I've seen a few businesses put up on their doors the signs that they can print out that say that ICE agents aren't welcome there. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to name the place, but there was a place that I had 3 back-to-back not so great experiences. But I really needed a coffee and they were on my way. So I went, after some time, and they had that up on their door. And I was like, oh, I'm like, they are really thinking about stuff, or at least I hope they are. And they're, they're thinking about these things. And a lot of other businesses that I would expect to also do this haven't done that yet, or haven't, I feel confident walking in here knowing that I know where they stand, like that if me and my family and my friends are in their facility, that I feel like we would feel safe and hopefully protected should anything happen, So, yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I actually haven't been near a business that has a sign like that, but I'm also hardly ever like out and about like that. But I would say where I feel called to, I guess, visit more are places that have like, bulletin boards, and they have like business cards and they have flyers. Like that says a lot about the place and how they want to protect the people that keep coming back. So I'd say really like places that value that really put out things for people to take home.
I was talking to the owner of miniature business shout out. I was talking to the owner of Satellite Vintage in Broad Ripple. And she had like a no ICE agents like sticker just like on her, something like that, on her counter where the checkout was. And I was like, yeah, I like when businesses like post it on the door. She goes, should I post this on the door? I guess I'll do it right now. And she just like walked over the door and just like slapped it up there. And I thought that was really funny. So shout out to Sally Vintage.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Or unless you guys, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? What's on your mind?
Currently?
I guess I'll share something just in terms of like things that are happening with policy and legislation. We've been organizing for some time, and it's always just funny how things work and how when we've brought issues like in-state tuition and driver's licenses, we always get like, oh, that's a federal issue. That's like beyond our control. We have no say in that. That needs to be like a federal thing. Let Congress handle that. But now we live in a state where they're just, so happy to work with federal agencies. And so I think that's just a reminder that we are as badass as we know we are. And that we know what our community needs, because we know that our communities for a long time have been, tossed around to be a topic of interest. And for us, it's not like that. We have always known what policy can do. And so we just completely disregard that. And we try and work for ourselves, create an ecosystem for ourselves.
I would probably say not to forget to check in on your friends, your neighbors, those that are around you that may be impacted. And, it might take more than once to let them know that you're there to support them. But yeah, I wouldn't take offense to when you're offering to help someone with something and they say no the first time. It takes a lot for people to trust, to know that you're a safe person. So I would just I would ask people to continue to be persistent and encouraging of showing up for their neighbors. Even if there is a language barrier, there are ways to get around that. So I would just call on people to think outside of your little bubble and reach out to those around you that may need a little bit of extra support or a little extra check-in.
Amazing. Thank you guys for joining me. One last question, and I kind of hinted at it, and maybe we can do two. It's up to you if you want to decide together. But what question would you like to ask the next Third Space Indy guest?
Do we know who it is?
I don't actually know who it is.
Okay.
This is what we were talking about beforehand, where I am a little behind, but that's okay.
I'd like to know, what do you procrastinate the most?
That's a great question. I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a luxury to procrastinate. What do you procrastinate the most? That's good.
You're agreeing on the question?
Yes.
Good question. I always like to answer the question. The answer is scheduling interviews for this podcast. I'm a little behind right now. Actually, even worse is writing the blog after every episode. I'm like multiple episodes behind, but that's okay. I'll get around to it. There is no pressure other than the self-imposed pressure that I'm doing to myself. Anyways, thank you, Sayra and Wendy, for joining me. Shout out to Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance. Where can the people find you on Instagram if they are interested in doing so, and anywhere else.
Yeah, you can catch us on Instagram and Facebook at Undocumented, and that's UNDOC Hoosier. That's HOOSIER. Did I spell that right?
I think you missed a U.
Sorry. I am not the speller.
Yeah.
My ENL will kick in.
UNDOCU Hoosier.
Thank you.
On Instagram. And then IUYA.org, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and you can donate there as well, right?
yes.
There's a big old donate button at the top.
Big fat, give them your treasure. Thank you, Sayra and Wendy, for joining me once again. Thank you for not watching today, but listening to this episode of Third Space Indy. My name is Michael Zarek. You can find Third Space Indy on Instagram at Third Space Indy or at thirdspaceindy.com, where I write a blog that I'm behind on and I will be writing soon. Thank you, Mark Lotta and cityrising.org for sponsoring the podcast. And as always, thank you to the local artist Jennison for allowing me to use your song, Scared Rabbit, as the intro song. Thanks once again for listening. See you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Scared rabbit, is the coast clear? Go grab it, you're gonna starve here. On your bed of death with one regret, what you never said.